morning, Beaumont. Glad to see all you guys out there making Beaumont great today. Well, I thought you'd be interested to know that Google is getting ready to spend $40 billion right here in Texas. They're going to increase their data center footprint. In an announcement posted on its website, Google said it's planning to build more infrastructure for its cloud and artificial intelligence operations in the state. The plan calls for 3 new data centers, 1 in Armstrong County, 2 in Haskell County. According to the press release from Governor Abbott, this is Google's largest investment in any U.S. state. And of course, it's only fitting that Texas, being the biggest state of them all, well, I know California, but the point is Texas is huge. And it used to be its own country and probably should be its own country again, but I digress. So this is their largest investment in any state. The tech giant's investment goes all the way back to 2019 when it built its first data center in Midlothian, Texas. Google later expanded its presence here with the development of another data center in Red Oak, bringing the company's total investment in Texas so far to $2.7 billion. Now, according to Google, the latest $40 billion investment is going to run through 2027. And Google isn't the only major tech company developing more AI infrastructure in Texas. Earlier this year, NVIDIA announced plans to build its manufacturing space for AI supercomputers, 1 in Houston and 1 in Dallas. More recently, Meta said it would invest $600 billion to build AI data centers across the U.S., but they did not specify which states. Now, here's the good part. How is the beast going to know if you're worshiping unless they have really good data centers and unless they have 5G phones so that you can get high-speed, direct, immediate gratification? Just saying. Anyway, now this. I did want to take a moment to speak to you personally because, let's face it, the holidays are upon us, and if you have an electronic system, an entertainment system in your home or business that needs a little help, you probably need me. My company, avexpert.us, also known as Audio Video Guru, we are here to make your technology behave. So whether it's your smart TV, your surround sound system, your outdoor pool theater system, or your restaurant's audio system, this is what I do, and that's my day job, and I would love to help you. So if you're in the Beaumont area and you need help, give me a call, Doc Greene, 281-914-1331. Doc Greene, 281-914-1331. Call me up, let's make an appointment, and I'll come out and check out your system and get you going. 281-914-1331 or avexpert.us. In the good news segment, the FAA has announced that it will allow 40 major airports to return to normal flight schedules after the order to reduce the flights during the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The normal schedules are to begin again today at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is according to a statement from Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy. So this is good news for those of you that have to fly, and I am a frequent flyer, but thankfully right now I'm not doing any flying, so there's the good news. But for the rest of you guys, now things are going to be a little bit better when you get to the airport. Meanwhile, Joel Gilbert over at the Gateway Pundit, he said the American mortgage system is one of the largest and most intricate financial infrastructures in the world. It relies on a vast network of borrowers, lenders, underwriters, title companies, insurers, appraisals, and global investors who buy mortgage-backed securities. Every link in this chain depends upon one thing: accurate, truthful information. When borrowers falsify occupancy status, particularly by pretending a property is their primary residence when it isn't, they distort that risk. They manipulate the pricing and they inflict real financial harm on both lenders and honest borrowers. That's why the prosecutors have long treated primary residence fraud as a serious federal offense, and it's why Director Bill Pulte and Federal Housing Finance Agency regulators are referring violators now to the Department of Injustice. So let's give you an example. Maxine Waters, no favorite of mine, but Horseface said that it requires elected officials to maintain a domicile and a fixed habitation in their state, in this case, California, and the U.S. Constitution requires that they be an inhabitant of their home state. Well, she actually complies. While she owns a home in Los Angeles, her mortgage documents on her D.C. residence correctly identify it as a second home, both back in 1991 when she got it and when she refinanced in 2007. As a semi-honest public official, Waters accepted a higher interest rate than if she had lied and said the Washington, D.C. home was her principal residence or primary home, like some of the others did. This is a designation which receives the lowest rates available because they're considered low risk. I don't know if anybody in Congress could be considered low risk. But anyway, then we got the bad four, where politicians clearly misrepresented for their own personal gain. Letitia James, you know about her, right? Lisa Cook, former Fed chair, and Eric Swallowell, remember that guy who was banging Fang Fang, the Chinese spy? And then we got Adam Shifty Schiff, who's not worth the shift that he's entitled to. These public officials have done the opposite of Maxine Waters. They misrepresented their home occupancy in order to manipulate the bank to obtain a lower owner-occupied interest rate that they were not entitled to. Adam Shifty Schiff declared two different homes as his primary residence, one in Potomac, Maryland, and another one in Burbank, California. Like Adam Schiff, Lisa Cook, the Federal Reserve Board governor, declared two different properties as primary residences in different mortgages, one in Michigan and another in Georgia. California Congressman Eric Swallowell declared his Washington, D.C. home as his principal residence in his mortgage documents, a status he is required to maintain in California, which means that, quite frankly, he needs to step down as a representative of California if he's living in Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C., being the District of Columbia, doesn't allow any representatives in Congress. His lack of any verifiable California home means he's in violation of state election law, and if he can somehow provide a California home address, then he is absolutely committing mortgage fraud in Washington, D.C. Tish James, the big girl, New York's Attorney General. She bought two homes in Norfolk, Virginia in recent years, and she declared one of those as her primary residence, despite being the New York Attorney General, which would make it illegal for her to be the Attorney General of New York. In addition, Tish James, for more than 24 years, has misrepresented her 5-unit building at 296 Lafayette Avenue in Brooklyn, variously claiming that it had 1 to 4 units, when in fact it actually has 6 units. So that's a lie, and this is mortgage fraud, but she did it because it gets her a much lower interest rate. So it's the same crime as primary residence fraud, misrepresenting key mortgage data for financial gain. And she's the Attorney General, a top law enforcement officer in the state of New York. Truth matters. The distinctions between primary residence and a second home or a rental property is central to the economics of mortgage lending. Historical data shows that borrowers are 3 to 4 times more likely to default if they are in a non-owner occupied property. Allowing lies about the occupancy hides this elevated risk. What about down payments? Primary residence usually requires as little as 3 to 5% down, while a second mortgage requires 20 to 25% down. So when someone misrepresents a second home or an investment property as their primary residence, they're distorting the lender's assessment of risk. Remember, this is what Tish James went after Donald Trump for, saying that he overvalued his properties when in fact he had undervalued them. But the banks think that they are issuing a safer loan, and they actually are. In reality, they're being exposed to elevated risks associated with investment properties, including higher vacancy rates and a greater likelihood of a strategic default. If this deception is tolerated, the pricing model for mortgages collapses. The lender cannot correctly measure risk without accurate risk assessments. The cost of lending rises then for everyone. Make no mistake, primary residence fraud is theft. Lying about primary residence constitutes a mortgage fraud, and that is a federal crime under 18 U.S.C. 1014. Penalties may include felony charges and up to 30 years in prison and fines of up to $1 million, not to mention civil liability, including treble damages. In 2008, the crisis that happened then is what happens when lenders' packages are inaccurate or misleading. And of course, that was when Peebo became president. This is because mortgage fraud strikes at the heart of the lending system. If lying about your primary residence is tolerated, the mortgage system would degrade rapidly because risk-based pricing would stop functioning. Investors would lose confidence in loan pools, and neighborhoods would suffer from hidden absentee ownership. Mortgage rates would then rise as lending standards tighten, and millions of legitimate buyers would be locked out of the market. I can tell you right now, I'm checking home prices, and quite frankly, the interest rates are just outrageous. I remember back in the days when interest rates were 1.9 to 2.5% for a home loan. They're stupid high right now, and this is part of the reason for it. In the end, the actions of Tish James, Adam Schiff, Lisa Cook, Eric Swallowell, these are not harmless technicalities. They're deliberate manipulations of a system they are sworn to uphold. They tried to get Donald Trump on this, but they found out that Donald Trump had done everything perfectly and above board. But these four officials sit at the pinnacle of public trust, especially Lisa Cook as a Federal Reserve governor, and Tish James, an attorney general who lectures others about integrity. And then we got a senator who postures as a defender of democracy, even though he's banging fang-fang. So this is very, very serious. Each has exploited the mortgage system for personal financial gain, securing benefits that ordinary Americans would be charged criminally for attempting. Their conduct isn't just hypocritical, it's corrosive. When people entrusted with enforcing the rules choose to violate them, they weaken the entire financial system, erode public confidence, and show contempt for the citizens that they serve. I hope they are prosecuted, and I hope they receive serious punishment for their crimes. You have a choice, and you chose Freedom 1300.